In the topic of ice and change, we will be discussing about the causes of glaciation. So, first of all, we will talk about the Antarctica. Antarctica is a continent which is present on the southern pole, and during the most recent ice age, the movement of Antarctica into its position over the south pole led to the development of southern polar ice cap 42 million years ago. And the falling global temperature then led to the development of the Greenland ice cap around 34 million years ago. So there are the two big ice masses which are containing glaciers, and these are found on the northern as well as on the southern pole. In the northern pole, there is a large mass of ice which was developed 34 million years ago on the Greenland. So, rearrangement of northern hemisphere land masses have subsequently resulted into the isolation of Arctic Ocean, so that received relatively little influence from the warm water current. So, once it was isolated, the Antarctic Ocean, there was less movement of the warmer currents from the equator towards the northern seas, and this resulted into the freezing of that part of the globe, and that was resulted into the North Pole freezing, and it led to its become frozen to some 3 to 5 million years ago. So now the process started 42 million years ago, and it completed with the frozen both poles on the north as well as on the south 3 to 5 million years ago. So the presence of two massive polar ice caps increased the albedo or reflectivity of the earth. So albedo or reflectivity of the earth means that whatever the sun rays come to the earth, the shiny surface of the ice reflects it back. So whereas the earth as a whole reflects about 40% of energy that falls on it, the ice caps reflect about 80%. So that means the ice caps that have been deposited on the both northern as well as the southern pole of the globe, they reflect almost 80% of the energy that is falling on that ice. So this significantly reduced the amount of energy retained by the earth. And what would be the effect? The effect would be the global decrease in the temperature. So why the recent ice age has not been a period of uniform cold, but has a consistent of a sequence of alternating warm and cold episodes. So whatever we are experiencing now, there is alternating period of cold as well as the warm climate on the surface of earth. Why it has not been the consistent cold? A proposal to explain this pattern was put forward in 1930s by a Russian scientist, Yugoslav physicist Milutin Milankovich. So Milutin Milankovich was a scientist who explained this idea. So Milankovich constructed a model based on the fact that Earth's orbit around the sun is elliptical. It is not spherical. Instead, it is not just like a circle. It is elliptical, and that the shape of ellipse changes in the space in a regular fashion from more circular to the strongly elliptical. So the earth is not uniformly circulating around the sun, but it is circulating in the form of an ellipse, and this changes from when it is circular to the when it becomes ellipse. So it takes about 96,000 years to complete a cycle of this change in its orbital shape. So when the orbit is fairly circular, there will be more regular input of energy through the year, and whereas when it is strongly elliptical, the contrast between the winter and summer energy supply will be much more pronounced, and this will result into the climate change on the surface of the earth. Another factor is the tilt of Earth's axis. A second source of variation is produced by the tilt of Earth's axis relative to the sun. So the tilt of Earth's axis, it produces the weather patterns on the surface of Earth, which again affects the impact of seasonal changes with a cycle duration of about 42,000 years. So this is changing around thousand years. And then there is the wobble of the Earth's axis. The third consideration is a wobble of Earth's axis around its basic tilt angle, which shows a circle of about 21,000 years. So all of these three effects we can see in the Milankovitch cycles. So all of these cycles affect the strength of solar intensity that is received by Earth, and the pattern of climate change should, according to Milankovitch, be a predictable consequence of summing the effect of these Milankovitch cycles. So all of these three effects, combine those and see that how much energy the Earth is getting in different areas, and these variation will call the climatic changes in a periodical patterns. So, and then there are another factor, which is the volcanic eruptions. The volcanic eruption produce large quantity of dust which are thrown high into the atmosphere. So when there are the ash particles going into the atmosphere, they are acting as the reflecting agent. So reducing the amount of solar energy arriving at the Earth's surface, and dust particles also serve as nuclei when the condensation of water droplet occurs, which thus increasing the precipitation. So the energy which is taken from the sun by these particles, it is reflected back outer environment, it is not coming to the Earth. And the second factor is that they are acting as they act as the nuclei for the raining. Nuclei means that when how does the rain starts? There is a nucleus where all the water vapors coalesce to, and that vapor is increasing size, and then when it increase enough in size that the air cannot retain it, it will precipitate, it will go down towards the Earth. And same thing happen, the ash particles act as a nuclei, and they are arranging the water vapors in a way that they become rain particles, and thus increasing the rainfall. And both of these consequences would favor the glacial development. Attempts to correlate the volcanic ash content with evidence of climate changes in the ocean sediment, however, have not met with much success. So it has been proposed that volcanic eruptions may lead to the global decrease in the temperature, but okay, this is something which can affect the weather patterns, but how much affects it is the climate as a whole that cause the global decrease in the temperature has not been yet established.